At first glance, it's just a simple word, something you hear every day without giving it a second thought. It shows up in technology and relationships, in systems that quietly run the world around us, yet its meaning feels almost too obvious to question. But the more you sit with it, the more it starts to feel oddly specific, like it was chosen for a reason that most of us have completely forgotten. So why do we call it a network in the first place? And what does that name actually reveal about how we understand connection and structure? That's exactly what we're uncovering today, right here, on History of Simple Things. The story begins with the word net, which traces all the way back to Old English as net, referring to a physical object made of interlaced threads or cords. These nets were used for hunting and fishing, designed to catch and hold things by creating a flexible but structured mesh. What made a net effective wasn't just the material itself, but the pattern, the repeated crossing of lines that created strength while leaving open spaces. Over time, this idea of interwoven strands became more than just a tool. It turned into a way of thinking about structure. A net wasn't just something you used. It became a concept representing interconnected parts forming a unified whole. The second part of the word work comes from the Old English weork, meaning something made, built, or carefully constructed. When combined, network literally described a structure that had been deliberately formed into a net-like pattern. By the 16th century, the term was commonly used to describe textiles, especially lace or decorative fabrics with intricate woven designs. These weren't random patterns. They were carefully crafted arrangements of threads that formed something both functional and visually complex. The word emphasized not just connection, but intention, the idea that these interwoven parts were created with purpose, turning simple materials into something organized and meaningful. As language evolved, people began borrowing the word network to describe things that weren't physical objects at all. The defining feature, interconnectedness, made it perfect for describing systems where multiple parts work together. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the term was being used for transportation systems like roads, canals, and railways. These systems formed visible patterns across landscapes, linking cities and regions in ways that resembled the structure of a woven net. The metaphor worked because it made complex systems easier to visualize. Instead of seeing separate routes, people began to see a unified structure made up of connections. In scientific fields, the concept of a network became even more useful. Biologists began using it to describe systems like blood vessels, which branch and reconnect throughout the body, or neural pathways in the brain, where signals travel across interconnected cells. These systems weren't random. They followed patterns that allowed them to function efficiently. The word network helped capture both the structure and the purpose of these systems without needing entirely new terminology. It suggested that each part mattered, but only because of how it connected to everything else. This reinforced the idea that networks are defined not just by their components, but by the relationships between them. The meaning of network took on a whole new level of importance in the 20th century with the rise of computers. Early machines operated independently, but engineers quickly realized the advantages of connecting them. When computers were linked together to share data and resources, the term network was the natural choice. Even though the connections were now electronic signals instead of physical threads, the underlying idea remained the same: multiple points connected in a structured system. As the Internet developed, the word became central to how we describe digital communication. A computer network isn't just about machines, it's about the pathways that allow information to move between them. The concept didn't stop at machines or biology, it extended into human relationships as well. A social network describes how people are connected through friendships, work, or shared interests. This usage highlights how the word captures both structure and interaction at the same time. Just like a woven net, a social network is made up of individual connections that together form something larger and more complex. These connections influence how information spreads, how opportunities arise, and how communities form. The term works because it reflects a fundamental truth about human life. We are not isolated individuals, but part of interconnected systems that shape our experiences. The word network started as something simple and tangible, a mesh of threads designed to catch and hold. Over time, it evolved into a powerful way of describing connection in all its forms, from physical systems to abstract relationships. What makes it remarkable is how little its core meaning has changed. It still points to the same fundamental idea, that individual parts gain meaning through their connections to others. In a world where everything from technology to human interaction depends on these connections, the word network does more than describe reality. It helps us understand it. It reminds us that structure, connection, and purpose are always intertwined. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.